Since she told me. It's good. Good, ma'am. Good afternoon, and welcome to the opening of the City of Port Aransas Planning and Zoning Commission meeting Thursday, April 25th, 2024. Call to order. Public hearing. The Port Aransas Planning and Zoning Commission will conduct a public hearing on the following. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less.
You have to read this.
2.1 PPLT and FPLT 24000536 final plat for Moore Park and Cud, being a replat of Lot 8, Block 19, State Land Surveys on Mustang Island, Nueces County, Texas, and being the same property referenced in a general warranty deed from Gajanan Incorporated, a Texas corporation, to Greg Moore and Athena Harkin Moore, recorded in document number 20210184475, official public records of Nueces County, Texas. Applicant Greg Moore and Athena Harkin Moore, property location 3400 block of 11th Street. 2.2 FPLT 24000538. Plat of Sand Hill subdivision, block 1, lots 1R and 2R, being a replat of lot 1, block 1, Sand Hill subdivision, a map of which is recorded in volume 64, page 164, map records of Nueces County, Texas, lot 2, block 1, Sand Hill subdivision, a map of which is recorded in volume 62, page 5, map records of Nueces County, Texas, and lot 9, block 10, state land surveys on Mustang Island, according to the map recorded at the General Land Office in Austin, Texas. Applicant Cartographic Industries LLC and PGC's Beach Break RV Park LLC and Sand Hill Townhomes HOA. Property location 732 Sandcastle Drive and 1833 South 11th Street.
Does anybody wish to speak on those items at this time?
Now be a good time to provide background on them, context, or wait till we talk about it.
So right now you've got 3 minutes, and they can't have a back and forth with you. I don't know who you are. I'm sorry.
My name's Greg Moore.
Okay, since you are an applicant, you can choose also if the chair allows it to speak during the agenda item topic.
How about I go ahead and provide a little background
Sure.
on 2.1?
Just speak your name and address.
Again, my name's Greg Moore, address 1572 Hayek Road, from West Texas. Regarding section 2.1, this was a plat that was approved by planning and zoning and the city council back in 2021. Subsequent to that, went through Corps of Engineers jurisdictional approval and just got that approved just about 3 months ago. Upon looking and reassessing the property, a lot has changed with the landscape in the past 3 years, one being the north side of the property, the other one being the south side of the property. North side of the property has been built up by adjacent townhomes, and the south side of the property has also been built by townhomes. The purpose of what we're here today is just to flip the plat, the current approved plat, basically putting the approved CUD, the road on the opposite end, keeping all the lots the exact same size, keeping all the dimensions from the original approval, the exact same, just flipping it. So from the orientation from the road, when you pull in, the road's on the right besides the left. Primary reason because of this is for watershed drainage. The lot to the north side of the property has built up, put a retaining wall since the previous approval. So from an aesthetics and functionality from a watershed standpoint, at this point, it makes more sense to flip it, literally invert the plat from the original approval than what it was. And so that's simply all we're asking here for today.
Thank you. Anybody else care to speak? Close the citizens' comments and reports and go to items for consideration. Discuss, take action, or pass on any of the following. 4.1, discuss and take appropriate action on minutes from planning and zoning regular meeting held on Thursday, March 28, 2024.
And if you guys don't mind, we're gonna move that onto the next agenda, and getting ready for everything else and having some new people start this morning. We weren't quite ready with those minutes, so we'll take those up in May.
Item 4.2, discuss and take action on PPLT and FPLT 24000536. Final plat for Moore Harkin. CUD CUD applicant Greg Moore and Athena Harkin Moore, property location 3400 block of 11th Street.
So as Greg alluded to, this was a PUD. It was actually the very last PUD that was approved at P and Z just prior to the density ordinances changing that also took away the CUD from the development capabilities. This was approved right after that at City Council. They have been dealing with the Army Corps of Engineers since then. So this is kind of sat in that approved, but the plat has not been filed stage. They reached out and asked if they could just alter it. Since we can't alter it from what was approved before without just redoing the whole thing, this would be just a complete redo of this plat. So because we don't have the CUD allowances anymore in our development schemes, this is a variance request.
Okay. Can we ask the applicant to come up and
Absolutely. Mhm.
okay. So looking, my question is looking through the packet, it looks like the biggest thing you're citing is the drainage issue. Was any more in-depth hydrology report done to show that the new development on the north side will negatively impact your property in terms of drainage? Because I walked the property, it looks like, that north development properly drains to the street, so it wouldn't be coming to your
Correct.
plot there. So is it more in terms of, trying to minimize how much site work you would have to do?
Yeah, so that obviously that would come into play as well, right?
Mhm.
And just from an aesthetics purpose, just kind of going on that. It would kind of keep the level of 11th Street normal, right? Because the property to the south is a lower elevation than the property to the north. And then that's obviously the way we'd want the watershed to go, right? So go besides, going zigzag up and down, right? Basically building terraces down 11th Street. You're kind of flowing more towards the natural elevation of what it would be if we built up towards basically that retaining wall down to the property to the south.
Okay, I mean, in your plat, it shows you still plan on, the drainage to come down and go to your street that you want to build in and then
Correct.
to 11th Street.
Correct.
So it'd still come out to 11th Street
Yes,
though,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So, yeah.
Hello, Stephen Grunwald with Urban Engineering. In terms of site work, you're gonna have to fill the backs of the lot and have your street down kind of the low end, whichever way you have it. But now, since that property to the north is kind of built up, it just made sense to have our lots, which are gonna be the high side of our development, up against that. And the street, which is the low side of our development, kind of on the other side where the existing grade to the property to the south is, about what our street would be. There is an existing curb inlet there where our street would
Mhm.
tie into 11th. And it'd be really easy just to convert that to a grade inlet, so runoff would come off our site, go directly into the underground system and not ever get out onto 11th Street curb and gutter, so.
So just for clarification, the entire basis of the request is drainage, is that right? Or are there other considerations?
It's just drainage and aesthetics, like Greg said, the property to the north is high, the property to our south is low, so it'd be nice to our grading scheme kind of match that versus having our road come down to the north side and have a retaining wall right
Mhm.
next to it and be the low side of our site up against the high side of the
So,
property to the north.
so you just mentioned, is there anything preventing if y'all had to, move forward with the original plat as designed? Is there anything in terms of, the drainage that would prevent that original plat from being able to be developed?
To say it will prevent it, no, but it's just gonna be a lot,
More expensive?
no, not more.
Harder or
expensive either.
something,
It's
yeah.
just gonna not really match what's been developed around us. None of this stuff was really developed when we did this, so it made sense to have it the way we had it, but now the stuff's built up to our north and has remained at relatively the existing grade to our south. It just makes a lot more sense to have our grading and drainage scheme kind of mirror that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Any questions?
You want to propose that
So Mike and I, because this is a variance, we have elected to probably suggest to you guys that we take an executive session, but to discuss both of the variance requests between you guys and our city attorney. So what we are suggesting at the chair's approval is to table this to present our next item, discuss that, go into executive session on both of them, and then come back for any further discussion on each of those items.
Do I need a motion for that?
I think that we should probably make a motion to do that.
Okay, I'm inviting a motion.
You could like to.
To table.
2.1.
We're gonna table 4.1, we're gonna go through 4.2, and then we're gonna go into a executive session.
Sure.
Second that.
He was inviting a
Oh, you invited,
I was
okay.
inviting a motion.
I'll make a motion to do what just Nick said, table
Yeah,
4.1, or here 4.2, go into executive session.
And a second.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
4.2.
Hang on just a second.
Excuse me.
So,
Well, you want to vote?
let's vote on that motion. Richard
Done
Kay.
any of these?
That's all right.
Yes.
Bill Strieber,
Yes.
Stephen Wilson,
Yes.
Craig Scott,
Yes.
Nick Lorette,
Yes.
motion to table carries. We'll go on to the next item.
4.2, discuss and take action on PPLT and FPLT 24000536, final plat for Moore Harkin. Whoa, I'm on the wrong one, aren't I? 4.3, discuss and take appropriate action on FPLT 24000538, plat of Sand Hill subdivision, block 1, lots 1R and 2R, applicant Cartographic Industries LLC, PGC's Beach Break RV Park LLC, and Sand Hill Townhomes HOA. Property location 732 Sandcastle Drive and 1833 South 11th Street.
All right, so this one is a little bit more complicated. Let me just pull this up for you guys real quick. So what you guys have in front of you is the plat of Sand Hill subdivision. The proposed replat is going to make a lot 1R and lot 2R out of the existing lot 1 and lot 2 and some additional property that was purchased. So you'll also see the exhibits in here, the historical exhibits that I think are important to start off with. That exhibit number 1 shows just how that property was platted originally into the lot 1 and lot 2. The second exhibit shows the amending plat that was done when the first 2 sets of townhomes were built. And so that amending plat shows in those townhomes there. It's in your packet. Exhibit 3 is kind of the unusual one. So this plat was done in 2005. And what this plat did was add in the additional townhome lots. Plus they added this kind of unusual limits of common area line. That is not a lot line by any means. It is just this limits of common area line. And if you guys will give me just a second, I can pull that up on the big screen. So that limit of common area line took away that common area from the townhome owners.
Can I ask you a question now, or do you prefer me to wait?
Go ahead.
Okay, so this line was added in 05 after the 03 plat was approved, they added buildings and then they added this line. What was the purpose of that line? I understand it was to distinguish the common areas, but why do that? Do you know? Do we have
There
that
is
history?
not any kind of notes in in any of that documentation from 2005, so
Okay.
it's not very clear to me on why they added that line. What was the purpose of that line?
Okay.
I apologize, I should have had this pulled up.
Our only thought was that perhaps the developer wanted to separate out the townhomes that were being purchased from the undeveloped portion or phase two that he was contemplating.
Kind of the only thing that makes sense of why it was done that way. The problem is in 2023, that line was used to sell off that portion of the lot to a different owner. So now a third party owns that portion. And in order to develop that, it would need to be platted. In order to do the plat, our new density requirements require there be 5,000 square feet per individual dwelling unit.
Right.
So that is what they're the plat that they're proposing in there shows a smaller portion of that. I've got it right here if you need it. Is that the- Sorry, this is a new computer, so it's taking just a moment to get that open.
That current line of delineation runs more or less right up the middle of the street, does it not?
So
At
the,
least for
the
the-
current one, as the plat that was done in 2005, it actually doesn't run down the middle of the street. It kind of cuts that street off completely. So those last three groups of townhomes
Mhm.
don't have access currently. That portion is owned by that third party.
I think the parking, that what you see, it looks like is driving is.
It's
actually
driveway.
parking for
It's like
the-
their
those that
actual
may go out.
parking driveway. Okay.
But just real quick, so you guys know. Chapter 21, section 21
You can
of
give it
the
all.
Port Aransas Code of Ordinances, general states that an owner of tract of land located within the city limits who proposes a subdivision of his tract must have a plat of the subdivision prepared and must adhere to and comply with the terms, provisions, and conditions of the chapter. So you have to have a plat to subdivide. And it goes on to say, if you do it by deed of conveyance, contract for deed, contract for sale, or other executory contract to convey, it still has to be by plat. So there is no way in the city to sell off a portion of land except if you do it by plat, as far as the subdivision of the property. So you got to have the plat.
I gave them a copy of them. And there's just a copy of the portion of the code that he was reading.
Okay. So there would be two issues. The sale of lot one, block one that happened recently,
Mhm.
and then the future sale of these other townhomes.
So currently, I have anecdotally heard that it is difficult for, next to impossible for these townhome owners to sell their properties because of the way that that portion of the land was sold. They have clouded title because they don't have access.
Okay,
So going to the proposed plat, because the property is one lot, the applicants for this are the townhome owners, the HOA themselves, in addition to the person that purchased that other portion of property. So they are both came together, came up with a solution to propose to you guys that it is gonna include a major variance. So that variance is back to our density, our reduction in density restrictions that happened in 2021. Right now, we require 5,000 square feet. They are proposing a line that grants the townhomes access with that currently installed driveway and gives them about almost 3,700 square feet, 3,680, I believe, square feet of lot density space to carve out of the rest of the property. So that would be a variance from our currently stated ordinance of 5,000 square feet, a reduction down to 3,680. We do have the engineer for all the applicants, as well as the applicants, homeowners association, and the new purchaser of the property. If you guys have any questions?
And to me, it seems like a completely understandable request and something that makes sense probably from a legal standpoint from the real estate transaction side.
Stephen,
don't-
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please.
Stephen Grunwald here with Urban Engineering. John and also the townhome president is here. John's got a lot of additional details on the history, but one of the things this proposed plat does is address the access issue. It separates what will remain the townhome property from what won't be property. And in discussing, where that line should be, everyone kind of knows that 5,000 square feet per unit is kind of what the current standard is, but concerns with, what the townhome's supposed to do with all this extra property, for maintenance. What are property taxes for these folks going to be if their, unit area is 5,000 square feet versus something that's more similar to what they purchased it under. So those are kind of some of the driving things that are behind our variance request. And like I said, John and the townhome president are here. I'm sure they'd come up here and, add their position and 2 cents in on that as well, if you want to hear it from them.
So at this time, I think we should probably invite anybody else that wants to come up and speak about it before we go into executive session. So if anybody else would like to stand up and speak, now is your opportunity.
Thanks, George.
Remember your name and address.
Brian Heath, live in Sand Hill, 1833 South 11. I'm the HOA president, and John is much closer to this than I am, as he's on the island constantly, but I've been following this, and basically we're trying to help our residents. We got together in January, we got together with the new owner, and we came to an agreement that's going to give 12 of those units access to their units, because currently we have people trying to sell their units and they can't do that. And we've come up with an agreement that we took a vote. Everyone that was at the meeting voted yes, this is good for Sand Hill. It's good for us as owners. And 17 of 18 units voted yes, that they would like to proceed in this route. And I'd like to let John come up, as he has much more, hands-on knowledge than that.
Good afternoon, John Linskog, 1833 South 11th Street. So way back in 2005, the prior owner controlled the HOA and controlled the extra land. And they inadvertently filed an amending plat, which, as we've already said, you can't create a lot out of an amending plat, and they took away the driveway for these 12 units. The developer and his sister controlled the land. They also controlled the HOA, and the HOA documents say that you cannot do anything against city codes, which obviously they did in hindsight. None of this came about for until 2022, when the prior owner chopped up the circle drive that's out there, and we had to move a trash can, and we tried to find a property corner, and it showed it someplace that we didn't even think was a property corner, and that's what started the whole ball rolling. And so there's some inadvertent errors on several contributing people in this scenario, and we're just trying to fix it so that the developer now can move on, and so the HOA can also move on. And I can answer any questions because I've done quite a bit of history on this, as Nick knows a lot of history too on this piece of property, but it's a can of worms, we're just trying to button it up.
Does anybody have any questions?
I would assume that there would have been real estate transactions in these units in question right now since '05.
Absolutely.
Because it was the same owner, it didn't come up, or
Well,
what do you know about that?
I guess in a lot of townhome situations, none of the lenders require a survey because they have the plat and the little postage stamp lot.
And to clarify, these are condos, correct?
Well,
Not townhomes.
it's a condo regime, but they're called Sand Hill Townhomes operating under a condominium association.
Okay.
So the title companies there were no exceptions to the title. Now, with all what's out in the opens, and the HOA has responsibility to disclose these issues in a resale certificate, we're kind of in a box. And there's currently 2 units on the market, and another person wants to sell in these affected units. And this lot size would give us back the driveway plus another 20.5 feet for that's where we get to the 3680
38.
that we would landscape and have some extra parking and stuff.
Any other questions?
Thanks, John.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think at this time, we probably want to do executive session.
The Planning and Zoning Commission will go into closed executive session under section 551.071 of the Texas Open Meetings Act to meet with its attorney to seek legal advice on matters in which the duty of the attorney to the city of Port Aransas Planning and Zoning Commission of the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meetings Act.
Yeah, you're the best. Let me turn this off.
Gonna go back to the first one.
I defer to David and Nicole as to which you want to address first.
I mean, they both.
The more difficult one is Sand Hill.